So we're just finishing up the outlining with black, and I'm again using just a fine liner brush and black thinned with water to an inky consistency, and just loosely outlining detail. Still have our little cat left to do. And do a little bit on the bottom of the arms. I don't want to outline the top because that's where our snow's at, so just a little to define that bottom edge. Now after I do my black outlining, I like to go back and go over with some white outlining. Again, we're going to thin that with some water. To make it an inky consistency. So I'm a little off camera with my palette here. But then I just go over everything that I've outlined before. I'm just going to go over real finely and again loosely with white. And I'm not trying to follow the black outline exactly. It's going to be hit and miss, and sometimes it'll cross over it, sometimes it'll run alongside of it. But it just breaks that black outline up a little bit and adds a little punch of highlight. Putting a little fresh little fresh red out, and a little bit of orange to I switch to the number 2 round, and we'll put a little bow around the cat's neck, and I just loaded some orange on it, and then I picked up a little bit of the red. We'll do a couple loops of a bow. A little bit more highlight in the snowman's eyes. And we'll do a little red dot there on the bottom of his mouth. That'll be like a little lip. Put a little dot in the bird's eyes of white. Keep that very tiny. And I think all that we have left to do now is let this dry, and we'll trace on the lettering and paint that in black. So you can speed up that drying time with a hairdryer if you want, or just let it sit and take a break for a few minutes. Okay, I've traced our lettering on with some black graphite, and I'm going to keep my printed copy of the pattern here in front of me so I can see where the thick and thin parts of the letters are. It'll work best if I kind of lay it down there so don't put my hands over it as I'm working. And I was going to paint this in using, I think black paint will probably show up the best. And I'm going to try it with our little number 2 round brush. So I'm going to mix again that paint. I want it sort of inky, so I'm putting some water in it on my brush and just pulling it out from the puddle here and just making sure that water is mixed in well. And this is sort of a calligraphy style lettering, so you're going to have thin and thick sections of each letter. On this row, I'm going to go ahead and do the thick strokes first, and then we'll come back with the liner brush and do the little thin ones. So we'll just do, using the number 2 round, I'm going to stroke in the areas that are the thicker parts of each letter. And I'm just referring to my drawing here to see where those are. This actually might be a little easier to do it this way. Okay, so we've got all our thick sides in. I'm going to switch to this 20-aught liner, and I'll go back in and just paint in the little thin lines. see. And the last thing you can do if you want is to add some fly specking to it, some snow. I don't have quite enough white here to do that, but let me put a little more out. I'll show you how I do my spattering. Okay, so I've got just a big 3/4 inch brush. That's typically what I use. And I'll just load it with some water, pull this white paint out away from that red paint. We don't want pink snow. And I'm just mixing some water in with it. Get it kind of soupy. The more soupy you make it, the bigger your fly specks will be, and the drier it is, the smaller. So once I've got that paint loaded on that brush, I'll take another paint brush handle, something kind of sturdy, and I just tap. And I can direct where I want that snow to fall by just moving this around. This is pretty fine little speck, so let's try a little more water and see what we get. See, that comes off a little more freely, and one last little thing I did off camera was, I was going to show you, is I took my stencil with the snowflakes and went and added some snowflakes around the sides of my canvas so that you get like a three-dimensional effect when you look at it from the side. Just finishes it off a little bit more.